Have you ever stepped outside on a summer day, checked the forecast, saw 30 degrees Celsius, and thought, hey, not too bad, only to walk into a wall of air so thick and sticky it feels like you're breathing water? Yeah, you're not imagining it. That feeling is very real, it's measurable, and today we are going deep into the science of what I call the humidity trap.
So let's get right into it. Think about 30 degrees Celsius, that's 86 Fahrenheit. Now imagine you're in a dry place, maybe the desert. It's hot for sure, but the air is, well, it's just air. Now transport yourself to that same exact 30-degree day, but this time you're in a city like Miami or Singapore in the middle of summer. The number on the thermometer is identical, but the experience? It's a completely different world. The air feels heavy, your clothes are instantly damp, the heat just clings to you. So what is this invisible force that turns the very same temperature from manageable to absolutely miserable?
And look, this isn't just about whether you feel comfortable or not. What you're feeling is actually a full-blown physiological battle between your body and the atmosphere. To really get what's going on, we have to understand the incredibly clever and sometimes fragile cooling system that you are walking around with every single day. So let's pull back the curtain on the science that decides if 30 degrees is going to be a walk in the park or a total disaster. Before we even talk about the weather outside, we've got to start on the inside. Because right now, just sitting there listening to me, your body is a biological furnace. I mean it. Every single thing it does, your heart beating, your brain firing, even digesting your lunch, all of it generates heat as a byproduct. You are, quite literally, a walking, talking heat engine, humming along at 37 degrees Celsius. And this table here really breaks down where all that heat comes from. Just look at that top line, basal metabolism. We're talking a massive 70% of your daily energy. That's the heat you generate just by being alive, even if you did nothing but lie in bed all day. It's this powerful, constant internal furnace that your body has to deal with 24/7, just to keep the lights on. So with this furnace always burning away, your body has one primary, absolutely non-negotiable mission. Keep your core temperature locked in right around 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 Fahrenheit. This isn't just a suggestion, it's the law of your body. All our enzymes, our proteins, our entire cellular system is designed to work perfectly within this razor-thin temperature window. If you go just a few degrees too high, critical systems start to shut down. The genius system in charge of this life and death balancing act is called thermoregulation. And the master controller, the thermostat for your entire body, is this tiny little region in your brain called the hypothalamus. It's constantly getting data from all over your body and making these split-second calls. Okay, open up the blood vessels, get the sweat glands firing, all to dump excess heat and protect that all-important 37-degree core. So how does it actually do that? How does the hypothalamus give the order to cool things down? Well, our bodies come equipped with this amazing multi-stage cooling system. It's like a masterclass in thermal engineering, and it's always working to stop us from boiling over. Let's break down the main tools in its arsenal. Your body has three main ways to get rid of heat. First up, radiation. You know how you can feel heat coming off hot pavement? Well, your body does the same thing, radiating heat out into the world. Second, there's convection. That's just a fancy word for a breeze passing over your skin and physically carrying heat away. But when it gets really, really hot, the undisputed champion of cooling, our most powerful weapon, is evaporation. And this is where it all starts to click. What happens when the air outside is, say, 35 degrees Celsius, hotter than your skin? Suddenly, radiation is useless. In fact, it starts working against you. The hot air is radiating heat onto you. Convection fails too. A hot breeze doesn't feel refreshing. It feels like you're standing in front of a giant hairdryer. Under these conditions, our entire defense against overheating comes down to one single mechanism: sweating. Evaporation becomes our last and only hope. And the sheer power of that defense mechanism, well, it can be summed up with this one number, 580. That is the number of calories of heat energy that are pulled away from your body for every single gram of sweat that successfully evaporates from your skin. It takes a ton of energy to turn liquid water into a gas, and your skin is what pays the price. This incredible phenomenon from physics is called the latent heat of vaporization. It's basically the secret weapon in our body's cooling system. Every tiny drop of sweat that manages to turn into vapor acts like a little heat-seeking missile, grabbing thermal energy from your skin and launching it out into the atmosphere. It is, by far, the most efficient way for a warm-blooded animal to cool down. And check this out, to see just how powerful we're talking. If you're working hard outside, sweating about 1.5 liters an hour is pretty normal. That rate of sweating can generate 2.4 kilowatts of cooling power. To put that in perspective, that's more cooling power than a lot of portable air conditioners you can buy. Your body is a thermodynamic beast, but it has a critical weakness. And that brings us to the villain of our story. We've got our hero, evaporation, this amazing cooling process. And now we meet its arch nemesis, humidity. This is the invisible force in the atmosphere that can shut down our entire high-tech cooling system, turning a hot day into a truly dangerous one. This, right here, is the humidity trap. See, the whole magic trick of evaporative cooling depends on one simple, absolute rule. The air around you has to have room to take on more water. For your sweat to turn into vapor and cool you down, it needs somewhere to go. If the air is already jam-packed with water vapor, your sweat is stuck. It's going nowhere. This slide lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got dry air. There's a huge moisture gap between your wet skin and the dry air. This creates what you can think of as a powerful vacuum or a pump that just sucks the sweat right off your skin. But on the right, in humid air, that gap is tiny. The air is already saturated, it's full, the pump is weak or it's completely broken. So your body keeps sweating, trying to cool down, but the sweat just sits there, unable to evaporate. It can't do its job. And this failure of our cooling system is exactly what creates that miserable feeling we all know. We all use the same words for it, right? The air feels heavy or thick or sticky. But what does that feeling actually mean? Is the air itself physically heavier? Well, get ready for this, because it's the complete opposite of what you'd think. Humid air is actually less dense and therefore lighter than dry air at the same temperature. That's because water molecules are lighter than the nitrogen and oxygen they push out of the way. So that feeling of heaviness, it's a total illusion. But the sticky feeling, oh, that is very, very real. It's the literal sensation of unevaporated sweat clinging to your skin while your body sends out a desperate SOS. It's a distress signal. Okay, so we know this feeling is real. It's based in our biology. But how do we actually put a number on it? How can we quantify this misery so we can warn people about how dangerous it is? Luckily, scientists have developed tools that go way beyond a simple thermometer to capture the true stress heat puts on our bodies.
The one you've probably heard of is the heat index, which you often see as the feels-like temperature on a weather report. Its entire job is to account for the humidity trap. It takes the actual temperature and the relative humidity and mashes them together to give you one single number that's a much better reflection of the real danger to your body. And notice that crucial detail. It's measured in the shade.
And this chart right here, this is the aha moment. Let's follow the row for our 30 degrees Celsius day. At a nice dry 20% humidity, it actually feels like it's a degree cooler than it is because our sweat is working so well. But just watch what happens as you slide to the right. At 60% humidity, it feels like 34 degrees. At 80%, it feels like 36. And at a soaking 100% humidity, our 30-degree day feels like a blistering 40 degrees Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit. There it is, the whole paradox, explained right there in the numbers.
But hold on, because it gets even crazier. Remember how the heat index is a shade temperature? The second you step out into the direct blazing sun, the radiant heat from the sun can add up to another 8 degrees Celsius. That's 15 Fahrenheit to that feels like number. So that 40-degree feeling can suddenly become a truly life-threatening 48 or 50 degrees. And because the heat index is a bit simplified for the general public, the real pros, the people who manage safety for the military, for athletes, for construction workers, they need something even more accurate. And that's where a metric called the wet bulb globe temperature, or WBGT, comes in. So what's the difference? Well, think of it this way. The heat index is for public awareness. The WBGT is for serious, on-the-ground safety. It doesn't just assume shade, it measures the sun's radiation directly. It factors in not just temperature and humidity, but also wind speed and the angle of the sun. The heat index tells you how hot it feels. The WBGT tells you the total actual thermal stress being piled onto a human body. Now, let's circle all the way back to where we started, that humid city. Because as it turns out, our modern cities are almost perfectly engineered to make the humidity trap even worse. They create something called the urban heat island effect, which basically acts as a massive multiplier for both the heat and the humidity. So why are cities so much hotter? Well, first, all that dark asphalt and concrete soaks up the sun's energy all day long and then just keeps radiating it back out all night. Second, all the tall buildings create these urban canyons that block the wind and trap hot, stale air right at street level. Then you've got all the heat that we humans make from our cars, our factories, and all our machines. And finally, the smog and pollution over a city can act like a lid, trapping all that heat in. And this is the perfect example of the crazy feedback loop we create. It's a scorching day, so what do? You crank up the AC. But an air conditioner is just a heat pump. To make your room cooler, it has to dump all that heat somewhere else, and it dumps it right outside. So every single air conditioner in the city is actively making the city hotter for everyone else, which just makes all the other air conditioners have to work even harder. It's a vicious cycle. Okay, we've gone through the biology of sweating, the physics of evaporation, and the strange climate of our cities. So after all of that, what's the one thing you really need to take away from this? What's the real core of the 30-degree paradox? This quote right here just nails it. A hot, dry desert works with your body's cooling system, but a modern humid city does the exact opposite. Its very design, the concrete, the buildings, the soupy air, it all creates a barrier. It sabotages your body's ability to cool itself, and you end up trapped in a bubble of your own internal metabolic heat. You're not just fighting the sun anymore, you're fighting yourself.
And that brings us to one final, really urgent thought. As our world gets warmer, it's not just the temperature on the thermometer that's going up. Global humidity is rising too. That means these feels-like temperatures are going to climb even faster than the actual temperature. And this isn't about comfort anymore. This is about public health, about infrastructure, about survival. So the question we have to leave with is this: are our cities, where most of us live, really ready for the kind of heat that's coming our way?